Well, speaking of the Kings, did want to talk about them and wanted to talk about this guy.
Sabonis handles on the right angle, on top to Levine. Drives, kicks it back to Domas. Sets his feet, launches for three. 4 for 4 for Sabonis from downtown. He's got a 20-point ball game, and the Kings lead it 78-67. That's the 11th three-pointer the Kings have made in 24 attempts.
Domantas Sabonis. I mean, here we are, another year coming up with Sabonis as really the central piece to this team. And I think maybe that's a question for some. Like, can this team thrive when Domantas Sabonis is, I mean, wouldn't most people say he is the best player on the Sacramento Kings? I would. Doesn't mean he's going to have the best night every night, but I think he is the most important player to this team in a variety of ways. Now, let's take the positives first of Sabonis. I mean, there's way more positives than negatives. He is reliable. He is durable. He is productive. Seemingly right now he wants to be here. I think he wants it to be successful here. I think he's a big fan of Doug Christie. They work together very closely in past off seasons as kind of the one-on-one coach. Now Doug's the head coach. But Sabonis has seen a lot, right? He's seen the good and the bad and the ugly here in Sacramento. And his time here as a King, I would say, I mean, really, if you're just going on statistics, has been really incredible. I mean, it's tough to ask for him to do more. I think if we're starting to get into the critical realm of his game, there's a couple of areas that we could highlight and feature. I would say when they've made to the playoffs, I think people have been a little bit too critical on him. I still think by the end of that Warriors series, he did better than I think people were giving him credit for, but I'm going to stop short of saying like, look, you're being too tough on him. The Warriors game planned everything they did to slow him down, which I think was smart, because I think if he got loose and Fox got loose, the Warriors probably would have lost the series. Now, Fox was pretty great in that series, and Sabonis by the end kind of figured it out. But the first couple games, I will say he got numbers-ish, but it wasn't the same that we had seen, where the regular season of that year where they ended up the 3 seed, Domantas Sabonis had a dominant year. I mean, statistically, efficiency-wise, he was able to do a lot of things on a night-to-night basis that helped the Kings win as many games as they did. And he earned an all-star spot, an all-NBA spot. Like, he was great. So I think the criticisms of Sabonis when he's been here has been, okay, can he be that guy if they make it to the postseason? Now, they made it once, and I think Fox was the guy. Now Sabonis, if we're deeming him as De'Aaron Fox, remember him?
Refresh my memory.
Point guard, scored 60 in a game last year. I believe he's on another team now.
Huh.
He's on the Spurs now. So that guy.
Oh, now, I know who you're talking about. De'Aaron Fox, who plays for the Spurs.
Yeah, now he's a Spur, yeah.
So fragile ego, fragile body, weak mind, weak spirit.
Sorry, De'Aaron. That's not me. That's not these fingers doing the talking. I'm a big De'Aaron Fox guy. I love De'Aaron. But I'm a Sabonis guy too. Look, he's led the league in rebounding multiple times. When the comps are, is he the Joker or Embiid? No, but he's not Embiid in this sense too. He's there. You can rely on him. Let's look at Sabonis's games played: 79, 82, and then 70. The 79 year, remember he hurt his thumb and played through that. So he's tough. He's physical. Now, a lot will say he's probably more the 4 than the 5. That's fine. I don't disagree, but on this team, he is the 5. Now, that's not his fault or issue that maybe there's a roster construction or they haven't found a 5 to play with him. At times, I was hoping they'd play Valanciunas and him more together last year than we saw. But the consistency part, look, in his 3 full seasons as a King, 19.1, 19.4, 19.1 points per game. Rebounding, 12.3, 13.7, 13.9. Assists, 7.3, 8.2, went down to 6.0 last year. I thought less of the offense went through him last year. I don't know if that was a good thing or not. Free throws, always around 72-ish, 74, 75. 3-point percentage went way up this year from 37 to 41, almost 42%. Took more, made more. Field goal percentage, 61, 59, 59. Consistently good. And so Sabonis, is not a dinosaur in this league at all, but he's coming up on, multiple years played. Came in 2016 with the Thunder, then spent 5 seasons, a 4.5 with the Pacers. Now is going to be here this will be his 4.5 year with the Kings. And so his role with this team is the question I have. Can he be the number one guy on a team that's a playoff team? And I think the answer is yes in the regular season. I think when teams scheme for this team, they're going to scheme to, especially if he's the central figure, where the past 2 years, more so than last year, where a lot of the offense was run through him. That's where now you hope, like if the roster is constructed as it is, that Schroeder can help alleviate things as a point guard, that DeRozan, who last year at times was a terrific closer, that LaVine can find his true role playing off Sabonis a little bit, and Keegan Murray continues to develop. Now, these are all fair questions to ask, and part of it is you wonder how he's feeling. Let's get a little bit from him talking yesterday, first off, talking about adding a point guard, which, remember, he was very vocal on them needing a point guard, and they got one in Dennis Schroeder.
It was good. We didn't have one, so right now we have a starting caliber point guard. Dennis is very talented. He's playing in the Eurobasket this summer, so we'll see him later. He'll come in shape and ready to go.
All right. Well, it's going to be very important to see how Dennis Schroeder plays, and whoever plays the backup point guard, how they play when they are in this lineup for the team. And, I know the offense is going to be tweaked a little bit. I wonder how much more is it's going to be in favor of Sabonis. I think they had him less of a featured player, which I think that's why his assist totals went down. But still, again, a 19-point, 14 rebound, 6 assist year average is really, really good. How about Sabonis? He watched the Kings in Summer League get to the Summer League championship, ultimately to lose there. But the rookies were a big part of that. What was his impression of the new guys from the team?
Great. Great. They performed at a high level. I had IJ and Maxime out in Napa for a week, and we're just getting workout together and trying to teach the young guys some things.
All right, we're going to get a little more comments from Sabonis coming up, but you guys can react as well at 916-339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. Say good morning to Chris. Chris, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. How you doing today?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing good. Just wanted to speak a little bit on Domas. He's still a very good player, very productive, but it's obvious he struggles against length. And I think a lot of these younger teams that are, in the playoffs, they have that length. It's Houston, Oklahoma City, those teams, they have that length. And, he's more of a bully ball player. He relies on his strength. And I think we need someone next to him, who has that length and can kind of not protect him, but kind of equalize, his weakness. But, he's still a very productive player. I'm not sure if he could be our number one option. But, I love Domas. Although I am kind of mad. I sent my son to his camp yesterday to try to charge him for a picture.
Oh,
so
really?
That's all I got bad to say. Yeah, man, I paid all that money, and he wanted to charge for a picture. And I was like, oh, come on, Domas.
Yeah.
But other than that, he's good for the community. I like him. Give him a couple more years, see what we can do. But, he's got to get some length around him.
Yeah, I think that would help the team. Thank you, Chris. That would help the team just entirely. Now, whether or not that's a starter in there or just more minutes with Sabonis, a rim protector, just more size. I think that's something we're going to see with Maxime Renaud. Now, he's a rookie. That's a lot to ask of him, but that's kind of why he's in that position. I think it was kind of crafted for Maxime Renaud to come to Sacramento after he made it through the first round. I think his camp really wanted to be here in Sacramento. But what point that Chris just made, I agree with, in the sense that I think there could be such a world where you're considered the team's best player, but you're not your first option. And I'm talking about all around. What Sabonis does, leadership, durability, production, offensively, defensively, just everything. I think he means a lot to this franchise. And, at the end of the game, I don't know that he's the first guy I'm going to. With the roster the way they're constructed, I'm looking at DeRozan, Levine, or Monk as the guys first and foremost for me. If I'm Doug Christie and they're playing tonight and they have a 1-point game and they call a timeout with 6 seconds to go, DeRozan has proven that he can be clutch in this league. I think Levine can do that. I think Malik has the ability to score off the dribble. So I think those are the guys. Doesn't mean that's the only thing you have, the only play. You could run things through Sabonis and he could still take the shot, but I would go through other guys as my primary look. Let's get a little bit more from Sabonis. And he's talking about, from his camp yesterday, about Doug, who he's very close with over the years, being the new head coach.
Very excited. I'm very happy for him. He was in there with me those 3 summers every day in the gym, so I've seen how hard he works every day, and for him to have this opportunity, the fans love him. He's one of us here, so I think it's going to be very exciting.
Yeah, I think, by him saying one of us, Doug obviously played here, knows the connection. We've said it many times. Doug wants to win so badly for the people here. He and Chris Webber and Bibby and Peja, Vlade, that whole crew, Pollard going down the list, Bobby Jackson, they feel like there's unfinished business. That group felt like they should have won a championship. I know they feel that way, and they didn't. They feel not as much let down for themselves, which there's an element of that, but they really wanted that for this community. And so Doug and Bobby, as assistant now, I feel like they've got an opportunity to try to give that back. This team feels like at the moment that they're far away from being a championship contender, but you've got to build towards it. And so I still think Sabonis can be a part of that, should be a part of that if they, do this quickly, and can be productive in that. And can be a big reason why, because look, there are better centers, but not a lot. And he's playing the 5, then you've got a handful of people that play the position that probably you would play in front of Sabonis, but not many guys based on his production and what he's been able to do. Now, I hear the argument about him maybe being a 4 being better suited for him, and that might be true. Finding the right person to play the 5 around him has proven to be a challenge for this team. And so they've featured him primarily as the 5 and try to work out everything down the line. Now, that's part of where I think the Kings' problem has been, is they're playing a lot of guys that may be slightly out of position. If Sabonis was the 4, Keegan's playing 4, feels like he should be 3. DeRozan was the 3 last year, feels like he should be a 2. That's been a little bit of the issue. All right, how about new person in charge for Sabonis? Not only Doug Christie, but Scott Perry now putting this team together, calling the shots. Let's hear Sabonis address that.
Scott's coming in here and trying to change things around, in the right direction. I feel like what the fans want, what the fans believe in, and to come out, play hard, run, be a gritty team, and so far we're making the right moves. Everyone's working hard in summer, and it's gonna all come down to training camp and get together and make it work.
Training camp's going to be important. Look, this team doesn't get a lot of practice time in the regular season. It's not exclusive to the Kings, but most of your work is done on your installs of what you want to be, what you want to run, your identity, your core, your culture, your character, all that stuff is in camp. And we know teams change during the season. The Kings not only had injuries, had roster changes, had a coaching change. That's difficult during a year. Not the sole reason why they missed the postseason, but a factor in it. So now you've got Doug Christie and his philosophy. What will be different? What will we see? What will we know that Doug is implementing? And if we go back to Summer League and try to trace some of the characteristics, we saw a team that was picking up more full court, putting a lot more pressure. I believe the Kings, if I had my best read on it, I think they're going to be a team that wants to initiate defensively with some full court pressure, play a lot of players, hit you with a wave of depth, and consistently try to preach defense. This team has not been very good defensively for years. Doug will tell you he came into the NBA as an offensive player. He got on the court by playing defense for Pat Riley. Like, you had to play defense to get, that was his lane to get in. There were other guys that could score as well, if not better. So to get on the floor, he had to defend. And then he became, and just kind of really worked at it, became one of the better defenders in the league. I think this team has plenty of guys that can score. Which guys are going to commit to the defensive end are going to be the ones that we're going to see getting some time, and maybe more time than others that all they're doing is giving offensive contributions. So that's where I go back to kind of the mismatch of what they want to do to what the roster is. I think there are more offensive players than defensive players. I think more guys that can play both ends of the floor consistently well should be on the floor. And so that's going to be the challenge for Doug Christie. And you also have guys that are paid a lot. Levine, in my first run at seeing him last year as a King, was not impressed at all by his defense. He could score, no question about that. DeMar DeRozan consistently produced as a scorer, but boy, was he lacking at times defensively. So those two specifically, I'm looking at where you go, man, they provide a lot offensively, but you got to give something defensively. So those two specifically, I'll keep my eye on to see what they do there. But speaking of camp, having Levine, having DeRozan in camp, Sabonis thinks that'll help.
I think it's going to help, coming in halfway through the season, also new coach, not the system the coach might want to play, players learning it, so hopefully this season, I know Doug's working hard on the new system, how he wants to play us, and he's going to translate it through the training camp. And, so far all summer we've been getting little bits and pieces of that new offense, so hopefully when training camp comes, where it's just smooth and we're ready to go.
All right. Well, again, to be determined what that will look like for us. I think they got to work on pace as well. Couple years ago, the Kings, when they were the Beam team, the first one, had set, at that time, the best pace in NBA history. The next year, the Kings were going at about the same pace, if I remember my stats right, and they were already 10th in the league. So the game has changed a little bit in that realm. Indiana has taken it to a completely different level and run with it. So the Kings have been kind of on the forefront of it a couple different times in the last 25 years or so. In the early 2000s, a lot of people took from their offense. Well, a couple years ago when the Kings were the best at pace, other teams took that and added on, and now the Kings were middle of the pack in pace. So I think they need to get back. Now, they don't have Fox anymore, who's one of the most gifted guys with the ball as far as speed goes, but that's a little bit can be misleading. You want a guy that can be fast with the basketball, but you can advance the ball quickly, get a rebound, and just go. Just go and push the pace, try to get early offense, and I think this team needs to do that a little bit more. Now, that doesn't fit entirely into someone like DeMar DeRozan. Doesn't mean he can't run, but I think DeRozan is better when, okay, now you get into the half court, offense slows down, defense is set, then maybe you set up your offense through him. So I think those are some of the things we'll be looking at this team trying to implement and trying to go forward with. Let's get one more comment. This again from Domantas Sabonis from his camp yesterday. Here he is on, usually he's playing international basketball this time, but he just addressed that as well.
No international basketball this summer, just focusing on the team and trying to get this started off right.
Beyond this year, do you look at that international aspect of the game still as a possibility?
Oh, of course, every summer. I wish I was there. Lithuania just beat Georgia today, so I'm excited about that. And wish I was there with the guys, but next summer, obviously, there's nothing but World Cup, Olympics. The goal is always to play.
All right, there's comments from Domantas Sabonis. So I asked you guys kind of your thoughts on Sabonis, and really, I think he wants to stay a King. I think Domantas Sabonis is in a lot of the group of people that have been Kings, that have enjoyed their time here, that wanted to work here. I think Fox was in that point, and then just got to the point where, was getting so frustrated with things up top that it just got to where it ultimately, what we saw was a trade, and he's now in another organization, got his big extension, and we'll see if De'Aaron Fox, he got his payday. He's in a state where that money's going to go a little bit further in Texas, and ultimately we'll see if that panned out for him in a situation where he's playing more meaningful games than the Kings are. And I think some people right now would suggest that'll happen for him. But if you're the Kings, you got to see what you can do to make sure you're one of those teams that's in the postseason. And one of our texters says, let's see, where's this one? I love Sabonis, but he can't be more than your third best player if you are a serious team. If Sabonis is your best player, your roster is laughably bad. What are we even talking about here? Okay, well, my pushback on that is, I guess we're trying to define best player. Sabonis, I would say, is the best player. But now I think when you're, to me, I think your inference there is that, okay, do they go to him to win the game? I mean, that's not what I'm talking about. I think if we look at the Beam team a couple of years ago when Sabonis was either their best or Fox, I think that team was a really good team. And why was it a good team? Well, Sabonis had a great year. Fox had a great year. You had Keegan Murray playing his role, Barnes playing his role. Herter had a really good start to his season. Monk was doing his thing off the bench, and kind of the roles were fitting really well. They got to benefit from some of the other teams in the West having some injuries, but still, that was a good team. Took the Warriors to 7, ultimately lost that series. My point is, I think the Kings, if they somehow, some way can navigate through the roster mismatch, could be that team again. As far as, I don't know if they'll be as high as a 3 seed. I think the fortunes of that, if you remember, they won 48 games. Well, this year, 48, I think, would have been 9th, or 8th. It was just kind of a different year win-loss wise. But I think for the better part of the year, the team looked pretty good. The wins made sense. The losses made sense. Last year, a lot of the year didn't make sense to me. To sweep Cleveland, to win in Boston, to sweep the Rockets. I mean, the Kings had some, on the face of it, some great wins. Well, we know they had awful losses. Losing to Washington. You remember that game in Washington? The Wizards wanted to lose the game. They didn't tank on purpose, but they sat their best players out in the fourth quarter, and the Kings couldn't win that game. They lost to a lot of bad teams too. So I don't know that I agree with that, about that statement from about Sabonis at all. I think Sabonis is a gifted player. He's a good player. I still think, yeah, ideally if he was your third best player, I think you'd have a really good team, but I don't think it has to be that setup for Sabonis to be on that team. I think there needs to be other more reliable offensive options, and I think they have that right now. But my questions on this team is the roster match, like the fit and the defense. That would be it. And those are big question marks. But Sabonis, will he get to that spot where De'Aaron Fox ultimately got to, where he's happy enough here but wants to win more and ultimately wants to leave? I don't know. Well, I haven't heard that yet. I'm not saying it will happen, but I didn't think it would get there with Fox, and it did. So it's on Doug Christie, it's on Scott Perry, it's on the players around Sabonis, and it's on Sabonis to put it all together and make this team the best that they possibly can be this upcoming season. All right, for us, more show coming up, including we're going to find out who's hot and who's not coming up, and we'll go streaking. But first, we'll take a dive back into baseball, go around the diamond for this weekend, how the A's are putting together a good stretch here, and the Giants, man, remember when they were just 2 back of the Dodgers? It's now 9. Slip sliding away are the Giants. We got that and more straight ahead here on Sactown Sports.
The Carmichael Dave Show with